Purim, we should see complete peace in Eretz Yisrael, and victory, and complete shalom, and all the hostages and all the soldiers come home. So we're going to start a new Sicha today. It's a very long Sicha, a lot of details. I don't think we're going to do the whole Sicha. Vayishlach happens to be this week's Parsha. But let's start and see how far we can get. We can give this out. Thank you. I mentioned it the other day, but I want to show it to you inside. We'll read it. That this was a historic Sicha. The Rebbe said something which was, I could say, the statement is unprecedented. And it shows us once again how we are in a whole new era now. Even though we're not in Eretz Yisrael, there's no this in English, but that the world is going through massive, major changes. Let me first read the words in the Sicha, and then we'll go on to explain it. So, everyone is aware of the fact that according to Hasidus and Kabbalah, the main Avodah is about birur nitzitzis, according to Kabbalah. In other words, we put on tefillin, which means we take leather, we take a cloth, which is to write on, and a parsha, and mezuzah is also a piece of material that we use to write on it. And we take a little bit of esrog and we shake it, and we take matzah and we eat it. All these things are taking physical objects that have in it sparks of tohu, and when we do a mitzvah, we're elevating those sparks. That's called birur nitzitzis. So I want to start with the top of page 171. After talking about the concept, this Sicha talks about that concept. That's going to show you why. It starts like this. We'll do it slowly, so you have to follow, translate. Avo. However, la'achrei masenu v'avodah seinu. After all the actions and all the avodah, not just of us, but kol b'nei Yisrael, all the Yidden, the Meshech kol hageris, all the Yidden and all the good that they did throughout all the generations. Which includes all the good, means every mitzvah that was observed, every learning Torah that was done, every act of kindness that was done, and of course the Mesiras Nefesh, that people who lost their lives and gave up their lives for Yiddishkeit. But it also includes specifically la'achrei gilui teres achsidus v'yutas Kislev. Obviously, this Sicha says Vayishlach, it's always in time near Yutas Kislev, especially after Yutas Kislev, where Yafutza Minasecha Chutza began the spreading Chassidus outwardly, Umeisiv V'Helech, and it continues and becomes progressively more every generation through the Rabbi Seinu Nisienu, through our Rebbes and our leaders, Midar L'Der, from generation to generation, meaning from the Alter Rebbe and on, Ad L'Kvei Kedushas Meir V'Chamad Menasig Hareinu, up until and including the generation of our Rebbe, my father-in-law, Shal Yodai, that through him, Ufzu Hamayon Skutza B'Chol Katzvi Teva. I mentioned this morning that through the Friedrich Rebbe, Chassidus began to be spread to the whole, globally, to the whole world. In other words, until the time of the Friedrich Rebbe, it was pretty much limited to Europe, a little bit in Israel, a little bit in America started, but not so much to the rest of the world. And once the Friedrich Rebbe took on and he started to send shluchim, he began to spread Chassidus globally. It was just the beginning, and of course the Rebbe continued in a way that was never there before. So we're living in a time that so much was done in terms of bringing Mashiach. That means that everything that needs to be done to make the world ready for Mashiach has already been done. In fact, as he informed us and he announced, the Rebbe is referring he, meaning the previous Rebbe, that everything that needs to be done was already done. Also the polishing of the buttons. This polishing of the buttons business is a little bit, they have to explain a little bit. The Frierdiker Rebbe made the statement in 1928, which is interesting. That was the year that the Rebbe got married to the Frierdiker Rebbe's daughter. And that's when that relationship began. And that's the year, I think it was during Simchas Torah, that the Frierdiker Rebbe said, everything that's to be done is already done, but we still have to polish the buttons. So the analogy is, it's like someone who's wearing a uniform. Imagine a soldier has a uniform. Everything is tip-top in the right place. Even the buttons are there, and everything is fine. Just need to be polished. Little something has to be done. The Rebbe keeps saying, not only we're all ready, but even the buttons have to be polished. The Rebbe, I don't think the Frierdiker Rebbe ever made such a statement. So what does the Rebbe mean when he says that the Frierdiker Rebbe said it? It can mean two things. One thing it could mean is that the Frierdiker Rebbe, even though it's after Yud Shvat, even though physically we don't see him, he's not here, but he communicated to the Rebbe that now the button has been polished. We find other things like that. There were certain things that the Frierdiker Rebbe said publicly that he never said before. For example, he said publicly in America, when he was in America, that the third day of Slichas was an exceptional day by the Rebbes, but nobody knew about it. Which means every Rebbe of Chabad called in that son that would become the future Rebbe and said a mimer for him alone. Nobody else knew about it. What day? The third day of Slichas. And he said, my father told me about it, the previous Rebbe said, and he said, do not publicize this until I'll tell you that it's okay. He came to America, he publicized it. So the Rebbe said, but his father told him, don't publicize it until I tell you that it's okay. So obviously his father told him, while he was here in America, that it's okay to publicize it. Which means a Rebbe communicates with other Rebbes, actually, and this is one of the things that he told him. So the same applies here. Same applies here that could be the Frierdiker Rebbe told the Rebbe the buttons have already been polished. Or sometimes when the Rebbe says something, even though he's the one that's saying it, he'll attribute it to the previous Rebbe, in a sense as if he's saying it in the name of the previous Rebbe. So from this it's understood. This is the part that I underlined, because this is the part which is like the part that's absolutely new and never heard before, to say that from this it's understood that the avodah that we're doing now, as long as Mashiach is delayed, and we don't know why, this is totally inconceivable why Mashiach still hasn't come, but the avodah is no longer avodah sabarurim. We're no longer doing the avodah of elevating the sparks, because in Staima, the Nishlama avodah sabarurim, the avodah of elevating the sparks has already been completed. So what are we doing now? That was the question someone asked. You asked, I think. Someone asked, what are we doing now? We're making brachas, we're eating matzah, we're also doing the same thing. It must be avodah yuchedes, something specific, lahavi hayisgavus b'poel ba'olam, to bring Mashiach in a revealed way in the world. So in order to understand this, it's important to bring in a few things. This will be the first thing that I want to bring. And this is something from Tanya, the fourth chapter of Tanya, the fourth volume of Tanya, chapter 26, towards the end. This chapter in Tanya talks about the concept of elevating the sparks. So now, for a moment, not to talk about the Sicha, but just a general idea. What's going to happen once Mashiach comes? If we say that the sparks are elevated, and once it's completed, that's when Mashiach comes. So what will happen when Mashiach comes? How will we be conducting ourselves if we no longer need to elevate the sparks? So what's the point in making a bracha on an apple? What's the point in making a bracha on physical tefillin, tzitzis, or all the other things that we pointed out? Yeah.
That because you'll still want to do these things because you want a connection with Hashem.
Right, but will we still be elevating sparks if they're already elevated? Because according to Kabbalah, we need to elevate the sparks, and once we finish elevating the sparks, that's when Mashiach comes. So here, this is what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. Look at the bottom of the page. What? What happens? Let's see. Look at the bottom of the page. You can see the English. The above applies nowadays. I'm looking at page 516 in the Tanya, fourth volume of Tanya, the Hebrew English edition, the one that was recently published with the vowels. The above applies nowadays when the Shekhinah is in exile. The main function of Torah study is to seek out and elevate the sparks of holiness from the Klipa. Hence, to the current concentration on the laws of Isser and Heter, kosher and pasul. In other words, if it's kosher, then we can make a bracha and elevate it. If it's mutter to eat, we can elevate it. What's going to be then? Avo b'tzeis hashchina, when the Shekhinah will emerge from Klipas Noga, which means there will be no longer holy sparks held captive by Klipa. When will this be? After the extraction of all the sparks, it'll be completed. The evil of Klipas Noga will be separated from the good, and the workers of evil will be dispersed. There's a pasuk, v'yispardu kol parli oven, or in the language of the Zohar, v'leisholta ilona de tevara, the tree of knowledge, which consists of good and evil, will no longer be dominant because the good will have departed from it, and there's only good. So what will we be doing? The Alter Rebbe says, some people will engage in Torah study, they'll engage in the observance of mitzvahs, but not in order to extract the sparks, but in order to bring about consummation of yichudim, union, or marriage of spheres that are more sublime than those which are affected through our present Torah study, in order to call forth more sublime lights transcending Atzilus. And as the Arizal writes, one more line, that all this will be accomplished mainly, page 518, through the inner secrets of Torah, to observe the mitzvahs, and to observe it with many deeper mystical intentions and mystical thoughts that they will bring down these greater lights. So what does it show us? It means like this, that as far as action, we'll be doing the same thing that we always did. Tefillin, mezuzah, right? The tefillin on physical parchment, the mezuzah on physical parchment, physical esrog, everything, almost all the 630 mitzvahs have to do with physical actions. But what we're accomplishing spiritually will be something different, bringing down greater lights. In order to understand this, we need a little bit of an explanation of the whole idea of elevating the sparks. So I mentioned to you that the other day, that perhaps one of the reasons why the Rebbe meant that statement on this Parsha was Sicha Vayishlach, where it talks about elevating the sparks. So first of all, I want to show you two places where it talks about the world of Tohu. One is right in the beginning of the Chumash. The first pasuk in the Torah is Bereshis bara Elokim. In the beginning, Hashem's creation. He created the heaven and he created the earth. It's the first pasuk, the first verse in the Torah. The next one is Va'aretz haisa toyu v'vahu, and the earth was astonishingly empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. The spirit of Hashem was hovering over the face of the water. But it uses the word tohu. literally it means it was chaos. Spiritually, the Zohar says this is alluding to this world called Tohu, that this is what came first. And then came the world the way we know it. That's gracious. What's the connection to Vayishlach? So let's look at the next sheet. Sorry, won't be any more sheets after this. So I'm sorry.
Take turns.
Today's Parsha ends with this. This is toward the end of the Parsha. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before the kings reigned over the children of Israel. In other words, before they were kings by the Jewish people, they were kings in Edom, which were descendants of Esau. And this is what it says.
I'll get it down.
It says, look at verse number 32 in this week's parsha. Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom. The next pasuk, Bela died, and he was succeeded as a king by Yobab. That's it. The next pasuk, and Yobab died, and he was succeeded as a king by Husham. The next pasuk, and Husham died, and he was succeeded by the next king. All these psukim saying he was a king, then he died. He was a king, and then he died. A king, and then he died. So the Zohar says this is referring to the 7 kings of the world of Tohu, which means the 7 attributes in the world of Tohu that they died. They were this. That's what we know as Shviras HaKelim. So there's one sheet that I gave you that has sort of the terms related to the subject, and that's the sheet, the first sheet that I gave you for the Vayishlach. On the back, there's terms related to Avodas HaBerurim.
Wait, is the 7 world?
In the world of Torah, there are 7 attributes: Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. And there was a chaos. It broke. So I want to explain this briefly because I'm assuming that everyone sitting in this room learned about this before, knows about this, maybe not in all the details, but I'm just saying in order to understand our conversation. So let me do this on the board. The term that's used is Shviras HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels. So again, it's a metaphor, of course, but just imagine this. There's a vessel. There's a vessel. But this vessel is a sphere. This is, let's say, Chesed. Just giving an example. Chesed does not look like this. No?
You know this yourself, Rabbi Majeski?
Can't reveal everything. You know that. In this vessel, of course it's a vessel. Once it's a vessel, there's light that goes into it. This is the light. So this is called the vessel of the world of Tohu, and this is the light of the world of Tohu. Where is Tohu? It's higher than Atzilus. It's in the world of infinity. It's higher than all the worlds we know. So this light is an infinite light. It's a very big, strong light. And this is Chesed, and there's another Keli for Gvura, and so on and so forth. This light is so intense and so strong that the vessel cannot contain it. So this is the analogy that's given, is like, let's say, the sons of Aaron, that they had the light and vessel in a human being is the neshama and the guf. The neshama is the light, and the body is the vessel. So the neshama and the guf have to be with the right balance, the right rhythm. If the neshama is too intense, if the neshama is experiencing something which is too intense, God forbid, fear that's very intense, or love that's very intense, the body breaks down, God forbid. That's what happens if a person is feeling an emotion that is overwhelming and they can't handle it. So when the sons of Aaron will overcome with such love for Hashem, such craving and yearning to be one with Hashem, that their body couldn't contain it. What happened? Unfortunately, they died. They died means that the body broke down, was no longer what it was before. What happened to the neshama? It went up, back to its source. Same thing here. This is where it broke down. The vessel broke. Here's where it broke. The lights went back to their source up here. It's on top of the reflector. Okay. That's the source. And the same happened with all the spheres. The vessel broke and the light went up. So basically, broke means, and this is the term in Chassidus, it fell. It had a spiritual descent. And this became the source for all the things in the physical world. So the sparks are in the floor and the walls, everything physical. The whole physical world are these sparks that descended and they became the physical world. So therefore, if I take a physical object, like an esrog, and I make a bracha on it, and I do a mitzvah with it, I'm reconnecting that spark of godness which is hidden in it to its original source. And if all the Jews, I'll get to you in a second, reconnect and correct all the sparks, it's like taking a vessel that broke apart the pieces and then bringing all the pieces together and reconstructing the vessel. Yeah.
So the sparks that we're uplifting, are they from the vessel or from the light?
The vessel.
The vessel.
The light went all the way up to its source, and the vessel fell all the way down to the physical world. And when we do mitzvahs and we say we're doing a tikkun, a lot of people say tikkun olam, they took it from somewhere. The tikkun, according to Kabbalah, is where tikkun means to correct, to repair. We're repairing the vessel. So if all the Jews from all the generations do all the mitzvahs with all the things that we do, slowly it's like taking 288 pieces and bringing it together. And imagine it's seamless. Now it's a new vessel, but it's all the old pieces put back together. It's a perfect condition. Oh, so that's number one. Once the vessel is reconstructed, now the sparks come back down. Again, to give a gashmizik mashal, is if a person chas v'sholem was in an accident, and a certain organ in the body was injured, to the extent, let's say the ear was injured, to the extent that the person can't hear. But it's an injury that could be repaired through surgery. Surgeon goes in there, fixes whatever has to be reconnected, and after that, the person starts to hear again. It's a similar process. The keli, the vessel, is the physical ear. The power of hearing, that faculty, is like all powers that come from the soul. Once the vessel breaks down, the power of hearing is no longer in the ear, it goes back to the neshama. And the person can't hear, because that power can't be found in the air. The air is the air, the E-A-R, the air has been destroyed, the structure is destroyed. Once I fix it, now it can go back. How does it go back? In other words, when a person goes to a surgeon and he corrects the damage in the body, he doesn't do anything with the neshama. So how does it? And we understand what he did to the body. He reconstructed it, but how does the power of the neshama come back? So the answer is, once the body is back the way it's supposed to be, that organ is like a magnet. It draws the power of the neshama back into it. This is the deeper reason why mitzvahs are compared to the organs of the body. But when I do a mitzvah, I put on tefillin, or any other mitzvah that you do physically, or a woman like Shabbos candles, it's not only a vessel that godly light could be there, but the vessel is like a magnet, it actually draws down godly light into it, just like the organs in the body. So the same is with the world of Torah. Imagine Mashiach came. So that means that this vessel is built back. Chesed, all the vessels are fake, back together. By the way, over there, it's more like one vessel, and everything that's repaired. So we have a vessel now over here. That's all good. What about the light? So it's just like with the body. Once the vessel is back in shape, then the light should be coming back automatically. So the truth is it does, but it's not completely. It still needs a little bit of our effort. And that is what we're doing, though, is not fixing the vessel. This is done already. The surgeon did that. Now what we're doing is we're reaching out over here, bringing the light back down into the vessel. There's a little something we need to do. And the Chassidus, in my Maimon the Alter Rebbe, explained this week's Parsha, that what Yaakov did, that he sent his gifts to Esav, he sent him a camel, he sent a donkey, he sent treif animals. But nevertheless, it was similar to the idea of a korban. Now, the Rebbe says, we don't find a korban of treif animals. Korban is always kosher animal. How come here was treif animal?
When was the tree animal?
The animals that he sent to Esav as a gift were animals that are not kosher. Well, the Rebbe explained because when we do a carbon, we're sort of eliciting the light of Atzilus. It has to be kosher animal. When he brought the carbon, means that when he gave a gift to Esav, he was reaching out to the source of Esav, which is the world of Tohu, and his purpose was to bring down the light of Tohu into those vessels. But at that time, the vessels weren't really repaired. Yaakov from his end was ready, but Esav was not ready. So now, getting back to our scenario, the Rebbe is saying that the 288 sparks have been repaired. Okay, so the vessel is reconstructed. So then the question is, what are we doing now? The Rebbe's answer is, it must be a different Avodah, which means the same Torah, the same mitzvahs. But what's happening spiritually is no longer reconstructing the vessel. Now we're in the process of drawing down the light of Tohu, which is the light of Gula. Because when that light comes down, because it's such an infinite light, it goes into the vessel, and then there's a domino effect that the light in Atzilus becomes higher, and Bria becomes higher, and even the light in this physical world becomes a new light. And as a result of that, we have a Beis Hamikdash, there's no more wars, there's no more hate. All the things that change is because the light of Tohu, which is the light of Geula, is now shining in a positive way, in a contained way, not like then when everything broke. Are you able to follow? Yeah? Okay.
When did it break?
It broke before the world of Atzilus. And by the way, I don't want to get you more confused, but when you talk about spiritual worlds, it's not something that happened in the past. All these levels are still there now. But through our Avodah and Golus, what we did do, we reconstructed the vessel. So if you look at the words in the Sicha once again, let's look at the words again, and the words in Tanya is the same thing. Let's look what it says in Tanya. So now, what are we doing? We're doing Yechudim al Yonim, so we're drawing down a higher light, higher than Atzilus. And how do we do this? Mainly by learning the hidden secrets of Torah, and of course everything else that goes along with it, which means we're now no longer working on constructing the vessel, now we're working on drawing down that light of Mashiach. So this means chas v'sholem, not one iota of a change in the observance of the mitzvahs. It's the same tefillin, the same mezuzah, the same esrog lulav, the same shofar. But what's happening spiritually is something different. And that's why our Avodah now is also different in the sense that we're more focused on the hidden secrets of Torah. We're more focused on Mashiach himself. We're focused to learn about Mashiach, to become more aware of it, to be ready to accept it, because that's what we need to do now, is to bring down that light of Mashiach. And the reason why this is such a historic statement is because how could anybody say that the sparks have been elevated? How do you measure this? How do you gauge this? When you make a statement and say, oh, there are miracles, these are miracles of Mashiach. Okay, everybody sees miracles. And they're ever saying these are miracles that are related to Mashiach, which is also a prophetic statement, but it's which we can relate to. But to make a statement that the sparks have been completed, you have to know what's going on up there with sparks and make such a statement. And yet, this is a statement that I've been made. And by the way, I want to tell you something about these sichas that we're learning. These sichas, sometimes people say that maybe the Rebbe didn't mean to bring this out to the rest of the world because it's such shocking statements. That's not true, because these sichas were published in a newspaper, actually. It was done for that purpose. We published. I got to read the sicha in the newspaper before the sicha came out published. This newspaper was published on Wednesday, Thursday, and the sicha came out on Friday. But if you look at the sefer of that year, in the cover page, it says these sichas were edited by the Rebbe for the purpose of publishing it in the newspaper. And that's why if you look at the sichas, 1 week it's Yiddish, 1 week it's Hebrew. which means there were two groups that were recording the Rebbe's Sichos. One group was recording it in Yiddish, and one was in Hebrew. One newspaper was in America called the Allgemeine Journal, where Mrs. Jacobson, she and her husband, she should live and be well, her husband unfortunately passed away. They were the editors of that newspaper, she can tell you all about it. And the other one was a newspaper in Israel called Kfar Chabad Magazine, and it was published in Hebrew to put there. And each week, the Rebbe edited for one group, and then the other group had to translate. And the Rebbe edited for the other group, and this group had to translate. So these sichos were given out for the purpose to make it public knowledge. So I guess all the things that are happening in the world, from the one the Rebbe spoke about this until now, the miracles that are happening, it's all the result of the fact that now we're in the process of bringing down this new light. Obviously, that's not a longer process. This process of correcting the vessels has been taken since the world was created, since Avraham Avinu, since the Torah was given. But the second process, which is once the vessel is ready just to bring down the light in the vessel, that's not going to take so long. Even though we are complaining that it's already too long, it should happen right away. And it is happening automatically once the vessel is completed. But to a certain extent, there's a little bit of something we need to do, and that's the thing. That's why the Rebbe gave us special instructions, what we need to do today. And that's more to focus on bringing down this light, which is the light that's above Atzilus, the light of the world of Torah, to bring it down into this world. The footnote here, which I'm just going back and forth in my head, should I go into it or not? This is what I told you about Yaakov sending the non-kosher animals to Esau. So the source for that is in the Torah, or that's the Alter Rebbe Sefer on the Parsha of the week. And there the Alter Rebbe explains why is it that Yaakov sent animals that are not kosher? And the answer is because it was all about bringing down the light from the world of Tohu. Maybe we should say the words, and look at it, 89. What's going on now is so much more than what happened then, in the times of Yaakov and Esau. Remember, Esau is from the world of Tohu, and Yaakov is the world of Atzilus, Atikun. By the way, that also explains, remember the pasuk we read was, these are the kings of Esau that reigned before the kings of Israel. Who was born first? Esau. He came first, and then came Yaakov. So this is, by the way, a general rule that Klippa appears first, and then comes Kedusha. And one of the examples I've given is from a fruit. When a fruit grows, first you have a raw orange, and then the shell, the peel comes on top. Or first you see the peel, and the fruit grows inside. The peel grows before the fruit. The fruit develops inside the pale, but what comes out first is the pale. So Klippa appears first, and then comes Kedusha, which that explains why darkness comes before light, why the night comes before the day, why the Yetzer Hara comes 13 years or 12 years before the Yetzer Tov. Because Klippa is something which comes before. So Yaakov represented Kedusha, Esau represented the world of Tohu. He comes from that world of Tohu. And here, when Yaakov was sending these animals which was not just sending animals as a gift. We understand it physically, but it was a process of elevating Esav. It was about elevating the sparks of Tohu. So Yaakov was under the impression, let's see the words, Choshav, see it's in bold. He was under the impression, She'esav is Barakwa, the Esav is ready for Geula. Gam la'achri sheshova ha'malachim v'omer sh'lo nizbar adayin klal. The malachim came back and said, no, he wants to attack you. But nevertheless, he was under the impression that Esav can be elevated. And therefore, he sent these animals to elevate them. So, according to Alter Rebbe, he wasn't like Osak Baveda Sabrudim, he wasn't out to elevate Esav. He thought Esav was already elevated. So if he's elevated, why are you sending him these sacrifices? Osak Balos Main Nukrin Lahamshik Maim Duchurin the Mak of the Torah. This is a quote from Alter Rebbe, from Torah Or. He was sending something which was a Srusa de Latata to bring down the light of Torah into the world. He thought the Kalim already were corrected. They had to bring down the light. That's why the light of Torah, that comes through prey animals. They're the ones that are connected to the world of Torah. So I was saying that was Yaakov who thought it was ready, but now we're at a point where it's actually ready. After the Torah was given, and after thousands of years of Torah and mitzvahs, so everything was complete, and now we're just bringing down that light. Okay, I think we will stop here. Have a great Shabbos, everybody, and enjoy the tomorrow night's event, celebrating Rebbe Rebbitzon's wedding. What? You want to give me the papers the next week? Okay. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Whoever wants to hold the papers could hold them.